And we're off. Hello, hello, everyone. Thanks again for jumping online and joining with us for a little bit as we continue this series. This is number 8.
Yes.
Yeah, number 8. We only got a couple more to go. So things are just moving right along. So tonight we're going to talk about clarity. The last two lessons, last two sessions we're going to do is insecurity and energy. So Sean and I have already started pulling some information together, finding some pretty good stuff there. So I think everybody here knows us, so I'm not going to worry about the introductions this time. We are going to try something a little bit different tonight. This material that we have for you, some of it's kind of starting to repeat. So Sean and I were talking about maybe trying a little exercise tonight. And no, that doesn't mean we're going to get up and do jumping jacks or anything like that. But
I saw that, Kay.
Yeah, but we'll go ahead and try a little something. Sean's going to save. We're going to save it for the end of the lesson. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Come on. All right, Sean, I think I gave you control here. See if you got control.
No, it says I do, but
there we go.
Okay. You going to do the spiel?
Oh yeah. I'll start off with this one. As with everything we talk about here, we want you guys to know that this little declaration we have, it's not our intent, nor in any way are we here to diagnose or advise or prescribe any kind of thing, whether it's real, imaginary, physical, or mental. This is not what we're here for. What we're simply doing is passing on information that that we have found have benefited us, our lives, our families, and it's just information we're passing on to you. This is something that if this is intriguing to you, that we challenge you and encourage you to continue to look into that and see what other things you could do for yourself.
All right. So
John, back to you.
Thank you. So clarity. We started out with, well, what does clarity really mean? We often hear about being crystal clear, and Meriam-Webster, our friends over there in the dictionary world, says that yes, it is this quality or state of being clear or being lucidity. And Davis Wingnall, and I'm not even going to try those last two names there. They all wrote different articles, but pretty much the extent that they came up with is it is the extent to which you know, understand, and are clear about which emotions you are feeling and why you're feeling them. And that's the most important part. We have talked about all these emotions up to this point. But in order for us to really process and get to, particularly if it's a negative emotion, to bring it over to the positive side, we need to know why we're feeling them. Okay. So why is that emotional clarity necessary? First and foremost, if we do not have emotional clarity, we do not have ultimate self-well-being. And if we don't have ultimate self-well-being, as you can see down below, we start to become upset, we become overwhelmed. And this leads not only to physical harm, but also psychological harm. Physical harm, we can see this being manifested with heart attacks, strokes, severe gastrointestinal distress. Psychological, it's that anxiety or that impending sense of doom where we go into deep depressions. So that becomes an issue for us, and why we need to work on emotional clarity. But the biggest thing is, in order to get the clarity, we need to take the action to change the circumstances or thoughts. So that goes back into what is the root cause, as we say in Lean Six Sigma, what is the root cause of that emotion that is generating that feeling that we have? So where does the emotional clarity come from? Well, as we've talked about, and I believe it was the last session, was it not, Angelo, where we talked about these first three things? I think it was.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so as we talked about in our confused session, and Angelo and I had this thought all along until we were corrected that when we are experiencing emotion, it is not just a single emotion. There are layers to that emotion because there's multiple emotions. It's the intensity of the emotions that come into play. And when you start understanding, so let's say you're really sad about something, there's probably something else underneath there, some other emotions that aren't as intense, but the one that is most intense is that sadness. And so we dwell on that. And once we get over that, it's like, but then I have this lingering feeling. It's those sub emotions that led up to that big thing. So that's the several simultaneous emotions, but also the degree of emotional intensity. The issue becomes is that oftentimes we have been programmed, so to speak, by our society or our parents or whoever we hang out with, that we either ignore that emotion or we dissociate from it because I don't want to deal with that right now, or we otherwise censor it. So yeah, I recognize it, but I'm going to put it back in a deep, dark corner somewhere. And the problem is these aren't the positive coping mechanisms that we need to have. We need to experience those emotions. Yes, negative emotions need to be felt and processed so that when they come up again, we have the tools to process them. Obviously, if we have positive emotions, we want to foster those, but life is a balance. We need the good and the bad, or the positive and the negative. Now, the other thing is that sometimes these emotions and the mixture can bring about another set, and this is the anxiety, the depression, the anger, and the overwhelm that we have talked about previously. And so therefore, bringing that clarity is ultimately going to bring that awareness and peace. And Angelo and I kind of discussed saying we really should have done all the homework because some of these orders don't make sense. But you know what? I think we've done a great job so far. Angelo, any comments there?
No, I think, we're making it up as we go along. But I'm very pleased with the way this has developed as we put it together.
Very, very much so. I agree with that. So, Angelo, I think it's back to you. Whoops.
There we go.
There we go.
All right. So now we're going to start talking about some of the oils that we can use. But before we do that, this is our standard, right? Don't set yourself up for failure. We got the heavy feelings on the left and the positive, more positive feelings on the right. And yeah, we do want to be over there on the right-hand side, but we can't expect to go from one of those heavy emotions on the left and all the way over to passion or enthusiasm. We have to do this incrementally, and we have to process through. Sometimes we've got to go through each step. Just remember that every step forward is progress, is success. So you got to take the small wins when you can. And then as we continue to process and work through these, we kind of slide our way over to the right so we can hang out there more often than not. We're always going to fall back to the left, I think, but you know, how we get over to those lighter emotions on the right is sometimes a process. So we don't set yourself up for failure. You know, take those incremental steps, those little bit baby steps. So here's a funny thing. When we were talking about the emotions wheel, I tried for over an hour on trying to get a clear picture of clarity, and it wouldn't happen. So you can see it just above the word wheel. It's difficult to read the oils. I'm not even going to play with it. I'm just going to move on to the next one. So some of the oils that we're going to talk about tonight. The first one is Arax. Now, this is one of these oils. It's a blend that came 2 or 3 years ago. And it really has some good emotional effects to it. This is like the oil of discernment. And you can see some different ways to use it aromatically and topically. And there's some blends that you can do for your diffuser. But if you're looking for something that's going to help you to learn how to respond with a little bit more integrity to the situations that you're presented with, this may be the oil of choice for you. It kind of helps us reflect on how we get onto these situations, but more importantly, how can we have a least destructive path when, right? You know, we've all, I'm sure we've all caught ourselves at some point. We look around, we go, how did I get here? And sometimes we don't make clear choices, and then we end up in these areas. And this oil can help kind of start forming that clarity, and it helps you realize that you are strong enough to choose that higher road, no matter what you're faced with, and you're going to start making those better decisions. Some of the positive properties that you can see associated with this, definitely clarifying, revealing. We get a little bit of unclouded, discerning. We kind of get realigned and back in tune with ourselves, really. This is yet another oil, as I was looking it up. This is great to be used on the third eye if you're into the chakras. This is a great spot to use it. You can just put a drop of oil there, or make up a roller ball, whatever it is, and you can use that. And this can help with that discernment. Lemongrass is another oil that we can use. And what I like about this is the cleansing oil, but this is more like cleansing of the mind and cleansing of energy, right? So you can see that there's a lot of different blends and little different diffuser blends you can make up. You can use this aromatically, topically, and internally. Excuse me. This blend works well with basil, cardamom, spearmint, tea tree, geranium, and a few others. But what I like about this oil is that this is really, really a powerful energy cleaner. It helps kind of get rid of that lethargic sense that's in there, or the despair. You know, have you ever walked into a room and just the energy of the room is it's just tense, it's heavy? This can be a good oil to help release some of that energy and not make it so heavy in there. It's also good to help you let go of the past issues, that stagnant energy. It kind of helps you move forward, and it gives you ability to see those situations with a little bit more clarity, so you can start making those better decisions, and again start with that progress forward. And again, some days, as I used to say, some days we make a lot of money, some days we don't make any money. And that progress is going to be on a sliding scale. It's going to be a little bit today, maybe a lot of it tomorrow. But what I found to be more effective as a gauge is when I look in the rearview mirror, like look where I was a month ago or 6 months ago. And then you start seeing that what initially was maybe a small amount of progress, you're actually covering some significant ground. But this oil and some of the positive properties that go with this is spiritual clarity, that cleansing, and it helps us get rid of this unnecessary stuff that we need. Sometimes we're overburdened by these things we carry around and this heavy energy. And if we can kind of clean house a little bit, that's going to help us to move forward and to see things a little bit more clearer and be able to start moving in that right direction. Now, some of you should be looking at this and go, rosemary, we talked about rosemary before. Yes, you are absolutely correct. We talked about rosemary last month during our confusion session. And I tried to let this oil go, but it just kept coming back to me. I was like, well, let me look at this. And no, let me talk about something else. But when I looked at this oil, oh my gosh, it was just, again, just crying out to me like this goes along with clarity just as well as it did with confusion. Pretty much have the same bullet points. This challenges you to look a little bit deeper into what it's a little bit more soul searching in with this one, right? It helps us expand the mind with these new experiences when we get new information. And if we're having a hard time adjusting to situations, this can help us get through that. And it actually helps us feel a little bit more confident and self-assured when those times of change come around, because, you know, we can be a little timid or a little fearful when we have change. Even though we'd like to change, there's a little bit of fear that goes with it. So having that little boost of confidence can go a long way, right? Again, we're looking for the positive properties. We're looking at the mental clarity. We're teachable, we're enlightened, we're open to these new experiences, and we have the ability to adjust to these. Now, I did change some things up on the slide. Those are a different blend for diffusers up there. But this oil was just speaking to me very loudly that it had to be included yet again, because it really went well with clarity, just as it did with being confused. Now, here's an oil I don't think gets enough recognition sometimes. When we talk about spearmint, this gives you confident speech. And I got to tell you, initially, I was having a hard time understanding why this oil was associated with clarity. And I was like, why does confident speech connect with clarity? And Sean and I actually had a discussion about this, and he helped me, kind of walked me through this, and then it kind of made sense and I had a better understanding. When we have clarity, we're able to have confident speech, and we are able to have clear thoughts, and we can convey our thoughts with the right speech. They kind of go hand in hand. I have been confident, and it's one of the things I've struggled with, or I try to teach my EMT and paramedic students all the time, was to try to get them to be more confident in themselves, to dig down and bring it out. And that's kind of a hard thing to do for some people. And I got to tell you, I have been confidently wrong many, many times in my life. But having the confidence with your ability to what thoughts you want to convey, that's kind of important. And it helps you, if you're the ones like you're stumbling over your words or you can't figure out how to say something, feeling a little scatterbrained, this is the oil for you. It also helps with inner clarity about your personal convictions and opinions, right? It gives you the ability to kind of look inward. And when you do that, it helps you to become emotionally clear about, again, what you want to say and how you want to say it, right? I love the inhaler blend there, the lemon, spearmint, rosemary, and vetiver. You put that together in that aromatherapy nasal inhaler. And again, if you don't know how you're going to like this, take these bottles, take the caps off, put them all together, and just kind of waft it under your nose and see if you like that smell. If you don't like the smell, take the one out that you don't like, put something else in that you do like. You can, this is the joy of working with the oils, is you get to play with a variety of them. You can see I got again, great diffuser blends there that you can put together, and depending on what you're trying to get. But spearmint is an oil that I would highly encourage you to do a little bit more research on, because there's so many more other benefits that go along with spearmint. It's not just the emotional, but look at the physical aspect of it too. This is a good oil to also to put in your drink. If you're looking for a different kind of flavor in your water, spearmint could be the oil to go for. But if you're looking for the positive properties for, that articulate communication, that clarity, want to be a little bit more courageous, more confident, then this is the oil that you may want to consider.
Angelo, let me jump in here one moment. For
Yep.
those that are in chakra based, this is a good oil to place over the throat chakra. Some people do find that it burns a little bit, so you may want to consider dilution.
Okay. Thanks for that.
Sure.
So a couple of the other oils you can consider is coriander. That's the oil of integrity. If you're feeling a little trapped in this cycle of serving others, but we kind of forget about ourselves, I teach this on a regular basis, that oftentimes we are really good at helping other people, but we forget to sometimes take care of ourselves, right? And if you're the one that finds yourself doing things for others just so you can be accepted, maybe that's not what you truly want to do. Maybe that's not honoring your true self. This is an oil that can help you process some of that. Tamer is the oil of integration. This is one of the oils that's from the kids blend, but again, anybody can use these oils. They're extremely young, they're extremely old. But this offers a reprieve if you've been absorbing the emotions of others and you're really not sure how you truly feel about it, right? You feel like your own personal responsibility in managing your own feelings versus the feelings that are around you. And again, you're so worried about being accepted by others that we kind of forget, like, what is it that I truly believe in? This kind of reminds you that you can trust your instincts, and you have the confidence to choose what is best for your life. Now, I kind of grouped these last three together: Douglas fir, petitgrain, and Siberian fir. And you can see the types of oils and how it relates to emotional aspect of it. But I've grouped them all together because basically they're all kind of similar in what they were addressing. We carry a lot of our ancestry's lives and stories with us. And maybe every once in a while, we realize that some of those traditions and values are something that we no longer align ourselves with, or maybe we just don't want to be associated with that anymore. Kind of that historical or, the family traditional stuff. So maybe we need a little bit of Douglas fir to help transition, help shift our minds. If we need assistance to break free from those destructive traditions passed down through the years, maybe petitgrain is a good oil to grab for that. And something I've grown to realize is, as I've been getting older, my perspective changes with situations, with what I'm doing, with where I'm going. And sometimes we can get maybe a little lost or maybe a little confused, and maybe we don't know our exact purpose that we're supposed to serve now. Siberian fir is a fantastic oil to kind of grab and help with that transition. It will help you find your purpose. It'll help you find some direction. So again, whole laundry list of oils that are good, depending on, like Sean was saying, where are you? What emotion is it that you're trying to address? And get to that core emotion and then work the other emotions out.
bring up a really good point there. One of the things that I'm seeing on the practitioner side is we're seeing a lot more of the literature addressing ancestral traumas. And I thank you for bringing that up. That's a really important point, particularly for those that have had trauma histories.
Yeah, and I'm finding that I didn't put a lot of weight in that as I started reading some articles on it, but I'm finding there's more and more information and more studies are being done on it.
Yeah.
And there's connections that are being made. So it's almost like you can't ignore it anymore. You almost have to, you know, take it for what it's worth and do a little self-diving, self-investment into that and kind of explore things out.
And that's going to be one of the mainstays of our next topic on insecurity.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll leave that dangling Chad right there for him.
There you go.
So how many times have we found ourselves at the corner of this intersection, right? Confusion and clarity. Sometimes I get to this street and I still think it's the corner of confusion and confusion because we don't always have the clarity, right? So what are the things that help us with things that as we help process things through our bodies and through our minds and through our emotions? We've always talked about the affirmations, and these are something we have to say out loud because it gives our brain a different kick if we say it aloud, and it has more intention, more purpose, and it has more meaning. And we have to be sincere when we say this, and we have to kind of take it a little bit slower than what we would think. We can't rush through this. And when we say these affirmations, we want to say them at least 3 times because we're working it in. First we say it and we go, okay, I hear it. And then the second time it's like, okay, a little bit more intensity, a little bit more sincerity. And then when you say it that 3rd time, that kind of engages the brain and goes, okay, this is the direction we're going. This is the thought that I want to have right now. So as I was looking for some kind of affirmations for clarity, I grabbed this first one and I went, clarity, clarity, clarity. No, we are not summoning Beetlejuice when we're saying this one, right? We're saying clarity, clarity, clarity. I have clarity. We want to say it a little slow. We want to say it with intention. I like the 3rd one too. I'll stop letting one aspect of my life dominate over the others. I still get trapped by that sometimes, and reminding myself that, okay, I don't have to stay here. I can move my car to a different parking lot. I'm not going to let this dominate over everything else that's going on. Clarity brings to light more of what I need to be grateful for and thankful for. Sometimes we realize, yeah, okay, we're thankful and we're grateful for a lot of things, but do you ever notice as you start going through your list, sometimes we start repeating the list? And when we slow down and really think about it clearly, there's so many other things that we can add to that list, things that we are grateful and thankful for. And it's the absolute essential ingredient for me to achieve my full potential. Again, it's taking care of yourself. It's realizing inward what you want, where you want to go, how you're going to get there. And you've got to have this clarity along the way. Now, as you're traveling this path, do we get confused? Do we hit bumps in the road? Sure, we can get thrown off track, but we got to just remember to realign ourselves with where we wanted to go and where we're trying to get to, and just take that deep breath and focus on yourself and be intentional with the things you're trying to do. All right, Sean, I'm turning it back over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. So we've talked about we need to have clarity. So how do we get there? Here's your roadmap. So first of all, you need to identify the emotions. And again, I should have made that plural, but label the emotions that you're feeling. And sometimes that may take a little bit of work to figure out what all you are feeling. And the other thing is then kind of rate it. How intense is it? All right, so now we have that. Then take a physical check of how are you feeling physically? All right. So what that means is, do you feel muscular tension? Do you have the headache? Is your intestines like really rumbly and it's like, oh, I need a bathroom now? I just read an article on how the kidneys and the urinary bladder stores emotions, and that was kind of an interesting read. So what all are you physically feeling? And maybe that sudden onset of heartburn. And instead of reaching for the Tums, maybe we go for some digest Zen and process and breathe and deal with that. So the other thing is that sometimes we have these emotions that only occur during certain things. Angelo probably can appreciate this with unstable angina. When you find out that the in-laws are coming, oh man, getting those chest pains. So is there something that is predictable that you can identify a time when it's going to occur? If you do, we're going to give you a process of how maybe you can circumvent that. Is it 100% effective 100% of the time? No, and there is nobody that can give you that guarantee. But we're going to try to help you along that way. And you need to know what your emotional kryptonite is. Now, if you're familiar with Superman, you know that kryptonite is the thing that weakens him. To that extent, there is probably something that no matter how strong of a person you are, when you are challenged with that emotion, that's it. You basically go from a nice granite statue to this pile of sand that is blown away in the wind. So knowing what your emotional kryptonite is, and how do you start putting a layer around you so that, remember Lex Luthor, he always had that box, a lead box that as long as it was sealed, Superman was okay, or Clark Kent was okay. But as soon as that lid was cracked open, it was a different game going on there. So that's what we need to do. How do we develop that lead shield around that emotion? And we need to validate. It is okay to have those emotions. We have, one of the things that I've seen over the past several years, even BC, before COVID, is we tend to repress our emotions. We don't have sincerity anymore. We are very much a sterile society, and that is so sad. But validating what we are feeling, and it can be negative and it can be positive, and that's okay. They are your emotions and you are allowed to experience them. Now, the challenge becomes is how do you express them that it doesn't become offensive to others? I wish I had that answer. I'm sure Angelo wishes he had that answer, because everybody is so easily offended, it seems, anymore about anything. But allow your emotions to be expressed. If you repress or hold on to those emotions and don't allow them to occur, bad things are going to start happening. And that even occurs with positive emotions as well. We most of the articles spoke of it from a negative perspective, holding on to. I agree with that. But holding on to positive emotions can also have some negative health effects. All right. So what Angela and I were struggling with is really there wasn't anything new that the literature came up with. So we generated this list of what have we talked about, because in the bottom line, when you look at all 13 of these things, these are the major points that we've talked about over the past, where are we, month 8.
Yeah.
So over the past 8 months, we've talked about these various things. You can go back into the notes. and read up on them. And again, if you're not sure, if the notes aren't clear, or you watch the video again and it's still like, hey, reach out to us. That's why we're here. But there's one article that are in the notes, and that's Carl Pullen's article. It is well worth the read. Now, he covers a lot of these things, but the one area that really impressed me, and no other author addressed that, and it's the 5 key areas of self-care. And that is the one area that most of us are very negligent on. And the first thing is we got to make sure that we're getting adequate enough sleep. First and foremost, sleep is where our bodies repair itself, and it allows us to mentally, in the background, process all that information throughout the day, and that's in our dream states. But sleep is so integral to our immunity. The next thing is, are we getting good, nutritious food? And that ties into point 13 there, as well as, are we staying hydrated? Many of us are fearful of this next word, and that is exercise. We need to move. Our bodies are meant to move, whether it is simply going outside and walking, or are you going to the gym and lifting weights? Are you doing yoga? Are you doing qigong? Somehow get your body in motion. A body in motion is a much healthier body, and it has not only the physical rewards, but it also has those mental rewards. But the one area that we typically do not do well is in clarity, is we need to plan. And do this the night before. While you set yourself up and you lay your day out, you have a goal and you take all that pressure off. Instead of you're trying to eat breakfast, you're trying to get caught up on what happened overnight with the news, you're worrying about the weather, your spouse or significant other is trying to talk to you, and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, and then you forget something because you didn't plan it out properly. And then, oh my gosh, there goes your day. By taking 5-10 minutes the night before and setting up. And the other thing is that, oh, I have this important meeting, I need to pull those notes. Let's get them out and put them in our binder or in our whatever we're going to carry those notes in. That way they're ready. Are our keys there? You know what? I'm getting a little low on gas. So go fill up your gas tank now while you're thinking about it. And then that's one less thing that you don't have to worry about in the morning. So those were some really good points. So are we ready, Angelo?
Yeah, I just want to throw in a little something that,
sure,
as we plan and strategize and lay out our day, whether it's the night before or once the day gets going, do things change? Does something happen that totally throws it off whack? Sure, that can happen. When those emergencies or those situations arise, we handle them, we address them, we do what we have to. But then when you get back on track, sometimes we can't go back and do all the things that were on the list. Sometimes it takes a little bit of rearranging and replanning and rescheduling. So don't feel don't feel like that you failed at something if those things happen. That's just that constant state of flux where things happen and it doesn't always go according to plan. And just when it comes time to regroup, just figure out the best path forward from that point. That's
and you bring up a really good point there. And having that plan, you see what you wanted to do, and it's like, okay, that didn't happen. So it gives you that clarity and that vision, that focus, so that you can re-strategize so much more easily instead of, okay, now you got to start generating it in your mind all over again. And that's the other important point about planning, is write it down. To-do lists are so important. And again, prioritize. And you may throughout the day realize, hey, what you thought was a top priority, you know what, I can pull that down because something towards the bottom of the list actually is becoming more of a priority. So yeah, thank you there, Angelo. That
And
was
if you
really
do
good.
something that wasn't on the list, write it down on the list and then check it off.
Yep. Yeah. And even, and there's also something called the 5-minute rule. I ran into that today when I was waiting on working at Dad's. And if you can accomplish something in 5 minutes, do it right then and there. You will feel so much more accomplished, and it will give you more fuel to your fire, so to speak, and you'll be able to accomplish more and more. And next thing you know, it's like, hey, this is a 10-minute project, and you get that out of the way, and then you're up 20 minutes and you're getting that out of the way. So again, some of those smaller projects can add to your clarity along the way.
I like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, let's move on to the exercise, Sean.
Okay, so what I want you to do right now is I want you to take a nice big stretch. All right, really stretch out. Okay, yeah, all right. Feel that tension, wiggle your body a little bit. Yeah, okay. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to sit comfortably. All right, so get yourself nice and comfy. And now close down your eyes. All right, now focus on my voice. You're going to have some sounds around you. You're probably feeling your seat, your bottom on the seat that you're sitting on. This was going to go away. But what I want you to do is take in a nice, slow, deep breath in through your nose, deeper, filling up that whole chest. And now allowing it to pass out through your nose again, nice and slow. And we inhale again in through our nose, filling up our chest, then our bellies. And allow that to pass out, nice and slow. And one more time, nice big deep breath in through our nose, filling the chest, then the belly. And then allowing it to exhale nice and slow. Now, what I want you to do is to place your palms up on your lap and just breathe naturally. Feel that rhythmic flow come in and out. And if any thoughts come into your mind, think of them as clouds on a windy day, and they're just blowing by. No cares. It's becoming peaceful. The only thing you hear now is my voice, continuing to breathe. Now gently take your thumb and forefinger of both hands and put them together in a circle. And feel that energy flow through you. Enjoy this peace, this relaxation, this quiet. Now, whenever you get into a situation where you need to take that quick mental break, make this circle with your thumb and forefinger and breathe 3 times in through your nose, filling up your chest, and out. So let's do that again. In through our nose, filling up our chest, then our bellies, and gently out through our nose. In through our nose, filling up chest and belly, then out through our nose. And one last time. In through our nose, and out through our nose. Now I'm going to begin to count from 1 to 3. And with each number, you're going to become more aware and more awake. And you will remember this technique. 1, you're starting to feel the environment around you. 2, becoming more aware, sounds in the room are coming back to you. And 3, you're now fully aware and awake. What I want you to do is to take in a nice big deep breath. And as you go to exhale, take a nice luxurious stretch. Let it out through your mouth. And wiggle that body. Feels so good. All right.
Thank
Feeling
you.
great now?
That was pretty cool.
Thank
So
you.
You're welcome.
yeah, so what he just did is he just basically gave us that was a 5-minute guided meditation, just focusing on the breathing, focusing on things around you, and just kind of throttling back and slowing down a little bit, right? So that was pretty cool. Thank you for doing that, Sean.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So now we'll take any questions if you guys have any questions or comments about the stuff we talked about.
Maybe I got them too sleepy.
Either that or we are just so awesome that we gave them everything they need to know.
Do that.
And now they're going to be able to go out and conquer tomorrow without any fear or without any doubt.
Awesome.
So
One of the things that I tell people rather frequently who I'm doing some type of counseling with is never forget the power of the words that come out of your mouth and go back into your ears. You've got one mouth to talk with, but you've got 2 ears that hear everything you say. And sometimes we just don't take the time to think about those negative things we say about ourselves, or, oh, that was stupid. Something so simple as that was stupid, Kay, It just comes out of my mouth and goes in my head, and then it gets wrapped up in my mind. You're stupid. You're stupid. And it's just a small thing to think about in your daily routine. It's just to try to be really careful about the things that you say out, you speak out.
And that's an interesting point, Kay, because what I'm seeing a lot in the metaphysical literature is they talk about the spelling concept of what you speak becomes the reality. And that's an excellent way of putting it. I like the 1 to 2. I really like that. Thank you.
yeah, nobody's better at beating yourself up than you are. You can just put yourself into a gutter and just keep beating yourself up. What I've tried to do on numerous occasions is put that positive spin on it instead of saying the negative things like, well, that was a total waste of time. Well, maybe it wasn't a total waste of time. What good came out of it? What did you learn from this? And learning how to take even those little bits of positivity from a really bad situation just gives you a different mindset and a different viewpoint. And that enables me to move forward rather than stay where I am or kind of slide back a little bit. You know, I tell everybody when they're, whether it's a job or personal situation or whatever it is, whatever thing you're learning or whatever thing you're doing, if you fail at it, I tell everybody we fail forward because we always learn something from it. We never want to set ourselves back. But even every failure we do, we kind of fail forward a little bit because we're learning something from it or we're getting something from it, right? I had a business that failed miserably, but there were some good things that came out of that. So it's all about putting that positive spin on things. And sometimes that's hard to do. And you have to, I know when I first started doing it, I had to like stop and literally be extremely intentional on shifting my mindset. It comes a little bit more easier now, but it's a hard it's a hard skill to learn sometimes.
There's an acronym that I've been using with my students recently. They go, "Oh, I failed." And I go, "Yes, you have." And then I put FAIL vertically. And then I write out first attempt in learning. And that is exactly what you described there.
Yeah.
So awesome.
So wise words from this crowd.
And they're furiously taking notes.
Yes. So
Even though we may think that we made mistakes, in truth, God does not. He could lead us down a path where we're like, oh my goodness, I made this terrible mistake. And yet when sometimes in days to come or weeks to come, or sometimes it's even years to come, you're like, oh, I'm so grateful I did that because God used it in a positive way that I would have never thought of possible. So
oftentimes it's when we look back and we go, aha, that now I see it, right? Sometimes we see it, not always. Sometimes I just look up and I go, not getting it. I'm not sure.
My
But
GPS is broken. Please fix it.
so, all right, you guys have been fantastic. Just a little reminder before we get out of here. Next week is convention, new products coming out. Woo! A lot of talk about this this metabolic formulated protocols that are coming out. Blaine and I are learning all about it. We're going to have a watch party over here. I think I let all you guys know there's a watch party over here on the 15th from 11 to 2. Noelle's going to be here. We're going to have a little bit of food. But you know, it's if you can make it, you guys are more than welcome. Right now we got about 10, maybe 12 people coming. So we'll have 2 TVs set up so we'll be able to watch it, and we'll all watch as the new products are revealed at the same time. So there's that. And I think that's pretty much it for all the events that are going on for right now. And again, you guys are awesome. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.